I saw something you had posted. I think it was like just recent because I know it's a recent event. It was hip hop's 50th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw that there was an event happening in Montreal. I
Yeah.
didn't get a call. Why didn't I get a call from you? I'm gonna put you on the spot right now.
Do we have cricket sounds?
Well, add that in. I'll
That's a very, very
mm-hmm.
good question.
Hey, thanks for checking out the show. And if you like it, tell a friend. And if you want to support the show, you can by 1, subscribing and liking our YouTube channel at the DMW Podcast. 2, you can go to our website and sign up to our mailing list at the dmwpodcast.com. And 3, you can follow us on Instagram at the DMW Podcast. Thanks again for all of your support. My name is Stef, and this is the Dead Man Walking Podcast. Hey, Laurraine.
Hey.
So now that the lights are off,
Yes.
we can do this properly.
Yes.
I just want to say big thank you for being here. One, like we said about a minute ago when we have to redo, that it's been a while since we've spoken.
Yes.
It's been in the making for a long time. So I'm really happy that we got a chance to get this done today because there's a million things to talk about with you. There's always a million things going on, whether it's the festivals, whether it is yoga, wellness, marketing agencies, boxing events, concerts, street festivals. You are literally, I feel like, part of almost everything that's going on in this city. So I really wanted to have you on to talk about all the stuff you're doing. I think it's amazing. And really just to kind of, I know you. We've known each other for almost a decade.
Yeah.
But it's like I know you, but I don't know the whole story. So I'm really curious. I always want to know how all this came to be. So I'm so happy you're here today. And, what do you what are you working on right now? I know there's always a million things going on.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure.
I'm really happy to be here. This feels like just a natural conversation with some nice drinks, but we'll get to that after.
The homemade ones.
What am I doing right now? Right now, I mean, I'm happy to be part of a Natif TV team. This is breaking news.
Oh, okay.
So Natif TV is a French-speaking TV station that just got its must-carry license.
Okay.
So it'll be part of the regular cable coming up
Get
soon.
out of here. So it's going on like conventional TV.
It is. It
Wow.
is. So we just got the news on Thursday.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
I didn't know. So this is awesome. So what does that mean exactly for you?
So, well, I'm part of the team, so taking care of some of the sales and advertising, some of the marketing, and bringing some ideas and in the programming. But the brains behind it is really Jean-Yves Roux and Nancy Dubuisson. They have a whole team. They've been working on this for about 5 years.
Wow.
So I'm happy to just, being part of the team. I came in earlier this year, and happy to, contribute and make some magic happen. So that's coming up soon. So that's like the breaking news.
I was gonna say, okay, so what does that mean like now on your end? Is it some programs that you're already affiliated with? Like there's already the programs are scheduled?
So some of the programs are already scheduled.
Wow.
Some of them they're working on. So it's going to be more development. So it's really for racialized communities. So any racialized community that would love to participate. Because, sometimes we've said that when it comes to diversity, we don't have much of a voice.
Yeah.
But we finally have that voice, and it'll
That's
be
amazing.
on a regular cable. So yeah, it's pretty amazing.
That's big news, though. Like,
It is.
I'm sure, like, there's a whole story behind this of how this even started. Because you said it's like a 5-year process.
It is.
So this is one project that just like came to be. But is this with Living Legends, or is this apart from that?
I'm part of the team. So let's
Okay.
say as part of Living Legends, I'm part of the team to do a few things, and then I'm also working on developing a show. So so just keeping the brains and activities going, but it's just amazing to be part of something that it's a struggle. It's Quebec being such a beautiful place, but also can be so complicated.
Yeah.
To finally break through in that sense, there were a lot of, I can say, fights in the sense that the big companies like the Québécois of this world who went against saying that we don't need such a TV station because everything is already perfect.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. I trust it. I remember when I was working at CTV, like the Bell Medias and the Quebecors, they really they're not up to date on a lot of these things, and they don't know how to communicate very well those thoughts. And I remember I tried introducing stuff when I was there, and it was always like something more from a local level, or from different points of views and cultural differences. And it was always like, okay, let's go back to showing kids doing the weather. It was like, come on, like, okay, maybe this worked in 1955, but it's finished. Like, let's bring all these different voices. And it was tough. It was tough to get people to listen, to be honest. So
It is.
I feel you on that conversation. I tried so many times to do something like that, and it was always like, next year. Let's look at this next year.
Yeah, and but I think like you being in that environment, and you know how it is from your point of view. And then now let's say we come along and then we try to introduce something, and then you can imagine all the creative reasons why they tell us.
I could imagine. I was at least getting some sort of like half truth.
Yeah.
So I could imagine all the BS that was coming out of their mouths when it was like time
know.
to give a reason as to why.
Yeah, so it was pretty, special to read that, that they would go out of their way, to say, well, that's not needed. Everything is already perfect in Quebec.
Crazy.
And then you kind of say, well, if that's the case, then when some of us are saying that there are some issues in the province and how systemic, problems we have, that we're not that crazy and we're not that paranoid. So,
Well, at least, and having that voice now where it's kind of in one way, so who it's affiliated, it's not affiliated with any of the companies like the Quebecor.
No,
In one way, it's kind of nice because you don't have to be controlled by that either.
exactly.
That's one of the things that I like about the show too. It's like doing this, it's like no one's going to tell me that I can't say fuck.
Exactly.
No one's going to tell me that I can't have this guest or that I can't bring up this conversation or go into areas or just do what I want and how I want to do it. It's the internet. Like, I'll do whatever I want. And in this case now, for you, it's different. Now you have like a mass media tool at the same time too, while you could still do all your stuff online.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So congratulations. That's big news.
Thank you. It's the team, like, really, they've worked extremely hard, and for all of that to come through right now, it just feels like finally, our parents would like to say, go to school, work hard, do da. And then, but they forgot the part about we have to fight for some of the things
the
that
extra
we really
mile
want.
you have to run.
So yeah, it's a huge victory, and I'm very happy, and I'm proud to be part of that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's cool. And so, besides starting your own TV company,
Well, maybe not starting.
I was gonna say,
That's a heavy one. Besides that, then there's a boxing event coming up on Friday the 13th.
great day.
So that's going to be at the MTELUS. So working on that, doing some of the social media for that, and some of the PR. And then we just finished like a crazy summer of festivals of Taste of the Caribbean. That's when we met.
Yeah, that was
CTV. Doing some of the advertising there, and then Grand Prix on Crescent. We did I'm the rum lady at
the Rum Queen.
The golf.
There's not Rum Lady, it's Rum Queen. Every time I was saying earlier, every time I walked out of your meetings, every time we went together, usually I got everyone drunk. That was my job at CTV. So they would come and they would always be like, oh man, I went to go see Stef and I don't remember the meeting. Or I don't remember, or we went to go to a hockey game and I don't remember the game.
Yeah.
Every time I came to see, I was like, cancel my meetings in the afternoon because I'm going to be fucked up.
Yeah. And listen, if we're going to work, you got to have fun.
But it was like every time. And sometimes I don't even think we finished the conversation about what we were going to do as the campaigns.
That's true. But you know what's the beautiful thing about life? And I think that for me, like, that's the essence of what I like to bring to the table, or how we're supposed to work.
Yeah.
Many times I say to people, let's say with you, I have a few colleagues, shout out to Tanya. I don't know how we get work done because all I remember is laughing.
Yeah.
But somehow the work gets done.
That's my buddy Chris, the guy that helps me with this. We could be talking for like an hour and we're laughing like this whole time. But that 20, 30 minutes of like the work part is like so good that everything like progresses super quickly and then we have time to laugh about it.
Exactly.
But I mean, I don't understand how people can work in an environment that's not like that.
No.
It's like, when you see people, they fucking look miserable at the office. I'm like, dude, this sucks. Like, if you have to hate it that much, like, you got to get out of here. You got to do something else.
I'll tell you what it was for me. Because, part of the past and where we come from and whatnot, and doing corporate jobs and working for this particular company. And there's always music in my office.
Yeah.
Like, wherever you see me, usually music should follow. because, people working in offices and you hear the light static.
Oh man, I can't even be in my house. Like this, like doing the podcast
Yeah.
right now, it has to be quiet. It's never quiet. There's always music playing. There's always like TV, not as much, but music definitely always in the background.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
But you were saying, like in the office, you would work in environments like that.
Yeah, some people are just like, they don't like music. And it's like, then I can't be there.
Yeah, we can be friends.
No. Like for me, you're not human. Like, essentially.
Music to me, I agree. It's so part of like the everyday, from a background perspective, from like emotional perspective, from a moment perspective. Like you have like, there's songs that when I hear them still, I can tell you exactly where I was on that day, what year almost, the summer with friends, or like all those things. So not having that part of your life, I feel like you're almost like missing out on a big chunk of the human experience.
It is. Like, for instance, just getting into my car.
Yeah.
There's a soundtrack, depending on where I'm going. Am I going on a hunt? Am I going...
Okay. Well, you're hunting. You're right.
What mood are we setting as we're
I love
driving
that you said
down?
on the hunt.
But you know what I mean? Like, there's some certain hip-hop songs that I'll listen to when I feel like I need that extra drive.
Yeah.
Or, just casually, like, my nephew, when I used to drive him to daycare, the poor child knows house music without him knowing, like,
He's getting in there with with a DJ booth and everything.
Oh, yeah. Like, the first song he learned was Deep Inside.
Jesus. Oh, man. You know what? I can't...
Because we need love, okay? Like, don't get twisted.
don't ruin this conversation.
Yeah.
But it's funny, I saw something you had posted. I think it was like just recent, because I know it's a recent event. It was hip hop's 50th birthday. Mm-hmm. So I saw that there was an event happening in Montreal. I didn't get a call. Why didn't I get a call from you? I'm going to put you on the spot right now.
Do we have cricket sounds?
Well, add that in.
That's a very, very good question.
But it looked really good, though. It looked really fun.
It was really fun.
But were you part of the organization on that, or?
Yes, I was.
So how did that all start, that event?
It started with Kevin Kelix. He has a KK show.
Okay.
And he was working on a project called Harlem of the North.
Okay.
To celebrate the jazz history of Little Burgundy and the Black contribution and whatnot. So that's what the event was going to be. So bringing in jazz artists and neo soul and whatnot. And then it just got flipped around when it was just like, oh, wait, it's the 50th anniversary. There was nobody doing it.
I know, because there's no word about it here at all in the city. I didn't
hear. And so that's how I was like, okay, change course. We're doing this now. And then we just,
Oh, it looked amazing, the event. That's why I saw it. Like, it looked like a good festival. But that's why every time, one thing I noticed is whenever you're involved in a festival, it looks like there's a real legitimate party happening. I remember even the Caribbean festivals when when I used to help you with that at CTV, was like, it was fun coming to the festival to come and see you, but it was fun prepping for it. Like the people that are involved, like they were passionate about it. And I saw it, but you were in, like, was that one of the first festivals that you started with? Was the Caribbean, or was there something else prior?
The first festival that I can say I started working with was the Reggae Festival back in 2004.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
And what were you doing for that festival?
That, I was doing some of the marketing, prepping the presentation documents and decks, and, just being all around. Sometimes it's hard to say what I do or what I don't do. I don't do heart surgery. But when it comes to event, it's just like all around, whether it's throwing ideas, brainstorming, what looks better, da-da-da-da-da. So, yeah, it was that kind of fun. But I think in one of my posts, sometimes it's you reflect on the things that you're doing, and the currency for doing all of that for such a long time is really the smiles. Because I think yes, we work hard, and sometimes you have an idea and you work for so many months, but then when you're actually there and it looks like the plan that you've drawn, and
it actually came to fruition.
And then everybody's here, and everybody's people have a smile on their faces. There's a great vibe. There's music going. What else can you ask for?
Was that what kind of got you addicted to it? Like, from that, like, when you think of back now, like, was that the first one, right? It was 2004. Like, how did you get into that? And then what made you stay in that world?
Well, I've been planning events since high school.
Okay, so take us back to high school then. So what was the first event you did in high school?
High school, it was one of the school dances, and then we did a fashion show, and then I organized the graduation.
Or like the variety shows and the graduation, all that stuff
Yeah.
you did.
So that, yeah. And then, I played a bit of soccer. I was a soccer coach, and I've always been involved in just organizing stuff, and that's where I feel comfortable. I'm happy doing it. I don't see the time go by. And leaving high school, went to CJEP. I did a deck in administration, but focused on marketing. And then went through the corporate world because,
Everyone thinks that's the right
my
way.
my nice Haitian parents were like, doing events. What is that? Like,
It's so crazy when you talk to like the old school parents, like even my parents, when I said I was playing music
yeah,
and I was gonna go study music, and I know they didn't mean it, like my dad didn't mean it in a bad way, but he's like, what are you gonna play in the metro for people? Like
yeah,
you're studying to play in the metro for people? And it's so funny how like, unless it falls within 2 or 3 types of jobs,
yeah,
you're homeless.
yeah.
Like
Yeah,
there's no
like,
other option.
You're dismissed.
Yeah, you
Go away.
yeah, like you're gonna have problems. Like you're gonna end up selling your body. Like
Yeah.
there's not many options for you. If somebody would have told me I could have like done maybe music production,
Yeah.
or it's like no one ever told me
Exactly.
any of the opportunities. I had to always like figure it out on my own.
Yeah.
So when you decided you were going into do all that stuff, the reaction I'm guessing wasn't very supportive.
No, it wasn't supportive, and I was just like, oh, there's other things to do. You didn't go to school for that, and etc. So, yes, I was working more, corporate jobs and doing stuff, but then I ended up doing always something artistic or music related on the side.
Yeah.
So even at the time when I had my daughter, 20, my God, it's 21 years ago. Um, and so through friends and connections, and then I was working with these guys who had Influence magazine.
Okay.
And so for them, it was looking for advertising and reaching out to artists and labels to get interviews, and then what's the latest release and whatnot. So it was always like, again, music related. So I was doing that on the side of working a full-time job. And then 2 years later, then through a friend again, started working with the guys at the reggae festival. And it was just, it's like a second nature.
They just have, yeah, it's like, but I find every time I talk with, like, everyone that I've spoken to on the show, or just in general, when we're talking, and you see that they've been doing something for so long,
Yeah.
it's hard for them to explain how it kind of all started because they just enjoyed themselves so much that there was not much thought process in it.
Yeah.
It was you just kept on doing it, and then you did it again, and then all of a sudden one day you realize someone paid you for it, and you're like, wait a minute, I could get paid to do this?
Yeah.
So the Reggae Fest, was that like your first paying gig?
It was. Well, the magazine paid also. And then the Reggae Fest, then it started slowly but surely. And it was just like this thing of, sometimes when I fall in love with a song, I'll listen to it for 24 hours for I don't know how many days until everybody, the cats, the plants, everybody knows it by heart.
Oh my God, you and my cousin Diana could never hang out. I'm not joking. We used to fucking freak out when she liked the song.
Yeah.
It was insane the amount of time she would play this song.
Yeah.
Like from a CD perspective, from a tape perspective, from even talking about the song. We used to be like, you're fucking killing this song for me. Now I can't listen to
But, then we'll talk about something else that falls into like spirituality and music for me.
Okay, let's talk about that.
So even though we're like, yes, I'm brainwashing you with the music, but there's a frequency and a vibe about certain music that it feels like it's healing your soul at the same time. And I remember like back then, I think it might have been like 2005 or I don't remember which year it was, but I'll pull out the picture and then
You gotta send me. We're gonna put it in the.
it'll be like the proof in the pudding. And there were particular songs that we were playing like every day. So it was like reggae songs from like I Wayne, Turbulence, Richie Spice, and it was just like the
Every day.
soundtrack
The soundtrack of that
of the
summer.
house. And then somehow, as we were building up the festival, those same artists came to the festival.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
So you ended up meeting all the artists that you were like completely obsessed with.
yeah.
And how did that go?
But the highlight of my life, and I was like, damn, I wish I had a phone back then where it was like nice recording. There was a song called Vampires
Okay.
from Turbulence.
Okay.
And brainwashed the whole place and whatnot. My daughter knew that off my heart. By that time, she's like 3 years old.
Yeah.
So we're backstage, and then I tell her, "Oh, look, lady, this is Turbulence. He's the one that sings Vampire." She walks up to him and she asks him, "Can you sing Vampire?"
She doesn't believe him. He's like, sing.
He goes down on one knee. He starts to sing to her.
No way.
And then I'm standing there like, why couldn't I record this moment?
Oh man, that must have been a sick moment.
It was just like, like when you said like dreams come true, but again about that vibration and whatnot. Then she took a picture with Wayne, and it's just like just a pure moment.
Yeah.
Of joy. And
when you have those moments, it kind of like I feel like whenever those moments happen, you kind of forget everything else. Yeah. Like you literally realize like what it is to be present in that moment. There's nothing else in the world that matters. There's nothing, like no bill to pay. No, like everything is like literally washed away for a brief period of time. Mm-hmm. And then it's like you're always craving for that, like that to always be that forever, because you just kind of get so immersed in it.
True.
That kind of something like when you saw that you were able to meet the people that you were listening to, you put together this festival, that something inside of you said, I want to do this forever.
Yeah.
That was that kind of like that moment for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what did you do after that? So you had that day, and like, did you go on a bit of a hangover at the moment? I find like when you have those really high moments, and then it doesn't happen for another like 4 months, another festival or something, you're like, but what do I do?
You hold on to it, and you cherish those moments. You learn to cherish moments because they're not going to come around. And sometimes, yes, I kind of miss the fact that I didn't have a camera to do that, but what's better than to have that fuzzy feeling in your heart, and to remember that.
And by the way, thank you.
Oh, anytime.
You want to explain what this is?
So this is the bottle from the OG of the OG.
I have to shake it, I guess.
Yeah, so you can show it to the camera so that they really see the OG-ness. So this is the goodness from from back home when my faja comes back from Haiti. Then he always brings me a bottle of crémasse, which you're filling it up. I see that.
There we go.
I guess I'm not working for the rest of the day.
Yeah, neither am I. There we go. So yeah, sorry, continue. But
cheers.
Cheers. And thank you, by the way.
Anytime.
So yeah, you were saying about that distance, like in between, like that fuzzy feeling and all that stuff. So
but it's like you strive for more. It's like, what else can we recreate? And then life happens.
So like what
in between those moments.
In between.
Life happens, but it's nice to be able to hold on to that, and whenever the song will play, then it's like you have that reference.
Yeah.
And that's something that's never going to go away. So it's, sometimes people will say, well, what do you work for? What do you live for? It's for those little special moments.
Yeah.
And if you can't create that for yourself, then what's the point?
I find whenever those moments happen, two things kind of like go off in my head. Like, wow, I can't believe I just had this experience that I thought was impossible. Mm-hmm. And then the other part of it is, well, what else do I think is impossible and could be very possible? Like, why, like, I didn't believe any of this was going to happen, and now it did. So what else do I believe is impossible? Yeah. And why am I now working towards kind of removing that and making it a reality? I know, like, for a lot of things that's when it hit, like, certain... I don't know if it's from a money perspective or from a life perspective, an activity perspective, or a challenge or something. Whenever you surpass it, you're like, holy shit, I can't believe I just did that. Mm-hmm. What else? What else am I kind of like holding myself back from? So did that kind of happen to you as well with that event?
Yes, but I've always been a believer of anything can happen. Mm-hmm. Like if I set my mind to it, chances are it's gonna happen. But also life or society doesn't program you this way. I'll say it like that. Mm-hmm. Whereas, I'll say for my example, right? You go into marketing, you go into this, you would like to do an event. you see this life is happening out there and you want to, live it for yourself. But then whether it's parents, culture, society tells you, no, I'm sorry, it's not possible for you. So imagine if when we have children, we tell them, no, anything you really want can happen. And you put that driving force into them so that you don't have this kind of like limiting belief of yourself, of things that can happen, I think that this is where we have to shift things with the next generation. So I know that my daughter, I think I've nailed that in her head as much as I...
Outside of actually nailing something to her.
But it's also the example.
Yeah.
What am I doing to show her that it's actually possible?
It's so funny. I never understood that till having a kid. And then once you have a kid, you start understanding, like, I can't ask you to do something if I'm not willing to do it.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of like this thing that I told myself, is that everything I say, I need to back it up, not with just the words, but the actions. Okay. So, if I'm going to tell you could do anything, well, then if I don't try my own dreams, if I don't try my own things, and I don't push myself, then how could I tell her, oh, the whole world is waiting for you. All this opportunity is just there, and you got to work for it and do all this stuff. When she wakes up and she sees that I'm not doing anything towards my dreams, I'm not doing anything like that. What example, am I setting? So I feel like having her now, it's almost like, I don't remember when I said this, but it's like, picture it was like a documentary of your life and you're being filmed every day. Yeah. And I look at it like, now I'm being filmed every day by her eyes. Yeah. So her eyes will remember everything that I do. Maybe in some ways will be a big part of her, in some ways will have no impact. Yeah. But she's always watching. So I really took that now, like, to heart. Like, okay, and it's not a question of like, oh, I'm not going to have fun anymore. It's the opposite. It's like I'm having fun in ways now that I never thought I would. Yeah. Because I'm actually doing everything that I said that, like, I don't know, am I going to be able to do this? It's like, fuck it, just do one more. Keep going. Keep going. Let's see where this ends. And every time I keep doing that, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't realize that there was this much here, that I could push myself. Yeah. So that like moment, like you're talking about with your daughter, and that kept on kind of carrying itself in all these events. Like, oh my God, we just pushed a new boundary. We just had a new experience. And there's always kind of moments where you feel like it went to another level. Yeah. That first one was that initial like introduction to it. Do you remember like another one that really left an impact like that for you?
My God. I'm blessed to say that there's been many.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'll say one thing leads to another.
Yeah.
I'll do a segue into a story like that.
I love it. You're doing all my work for me. That's perfect.
So speaking of like I'll call it the brochette of songs that we used to listen to for such a long time. So there was that reggae moment where we had that song Vampire. I'm sorry. No Vampire. It
doesn't have feelings. It's okay.
From Turbulence. There was I Wayne, etc. And I think on one of the same rhythms, there was a song from Capleton, that Day Will Come.
Okay.
And so we play that song. And then summer 2005, I walk into a Couche Tard with my daughter, and then I see the infamous little funny-looking candy. And then that's when I ended up building that case against Couche Tard.
What? I don't know this story.
It's nice hidden stories.
It's you have all these gems. I'm sure there's so many gems in here that I'm gonna need like a 3-hour session with you.
Yeah.
So okay, can you get into it, or you can't talk about it?
I can get into it. So, summer 2005, going to a Couche Tard, there's a series of jujubes.
Okay.
And they're all represented by caricatures of insects. So there's a fly, a mouse, and this and that. And then when it comes to the spider's legs are the dreads on top of a black guy's head, with the stereotypes of gold tooth, aggressive look.
Get out of here. Yeah. I don't remember this at all.
So she picks it up, and then, I'm like, we're not here to buy this. I put it back. But then as I put it back, I look at it, and I'm like,
man, that's a bit rough.
Something fishy about this. And then, I put it back. We continue our walk, go back home. And so back then I had dreads. Okay, let's remember that.
I didn't know that.
And she had dreads.
I'm learning so much.
And she had dreads. So I'm back home, and then now this is like playing in my head, and I'm like, I don't, So I go
Not
back to the
cool.
Couche Tard and I buy one of each. And then I kind of like do my own marketing study at home with my friends and family. And everybody says, yeah, it's kind of fishy, you know? So I write a letter to Couche Tard to say, you know, this is not right. You're playing on stereotypes. It's very subtle. And because you're targeting it to kids, it's not cool.
Yeah.
Because they don't know any better.
Yeah.
And she's 3 years old. So it's called by association. She has dreads. I have dreads. For her, this is like almost normal. She doesn't realize
Yeah.
that there's something particular about it. And then they send me back a letter saying that, oh, but we didn't mean anything by it. Kind of like, whatever.
You're like, that's kind of like the worst response you could ever give.
Yeah.
I never understood when companies do that.
Yeah.
It's almost a lie. It's better if you lie and tell someone, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to, like, let's look into it. But when you say, oh, well, whatever.
Yeah, we
you know,
didn't
like,
mean anything
Yeah,
by
we
it.
didn't mean anything by it. It's like, basically, why does this bother you? It shouldn't bother you.
Exactly. You know, and then I'm not going to say I'm an expert or anything like that, but just from a marketing background, it took me like 3 seconds to realize that something was wrong with it.
Yeah.
And you mean to tell me that your whole team created this
Well, you got to look
whole...
at the team, right? And see who's on the team.
We'll talk about that after. And then nobody realized that something was wrong with it. And so then with, you know, the help of different people, the CRAR and whatnot, we did a press conference to denounce that this was a racist candy.
Okay.
And that they should remove it at the very least, etc. And so, yes, I was in the media for quite some time, and
Oh yeah, I gotta find
then-
articles now. I'm gonna pull that shit up. I'm gonna Joe Rogan that thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start putting, what? This happened?
yeah, and then they flipped it to say, est-ce que les Québécois sont racistes or Quebec is racist? And I was like, well, that's not what I said, but if you insist, then I don't know what to say. And then long story short, that even after that whole debacle in the news, in the media, they didn't do anything about it. Then I went to la Commission des droits de la personne et de la jeunesse, and then I filed a complaint. And then for about 6 months, it was me against Couche Tard.
Oh my god. Okay. When you're going, because a lot of times people will be in a scenario and they'll tell themselves, what's the point? I'm one person and I'm going to go against Couche Tard.
Yeah.
Public company
Yeah.
that has a ton of money that will crush me.
Yeah.
In general, like most likely they
Yeah.
will crush me from a lawyer perspective, from a law perspective, from expertise perspective.
Yeah.
But yet you still went ahead with it.
Yeah.
Why? And then how was that?
Why? Because I'm Laurraine Leblanc, born in Montreal. I have had my own experience as Laurraine Leblanc, born in Montreal. But more importantly, my daughter picked it up. And whatever I've suffered, she has to continue living through that.
Yeah.
So it's not just, yes, it's me and my daughter, but then the whole generation that it affects.
Yeah.
So somewhere along the lines, it was just that, like, when are we going to stop and when can we have real conversations about things and what can we do? Yes, I'm one person, but I know I represent more than just myself. I didn't come here to this world by myself.
Yeah.
So I have to do something else for the next generations and whatnot. So that's why it was important for me to stand up and doing that. And so now that song, That Day Will Come by Capleton, was really speaking about that, is that day will come where eventually those walls have to break down and we have to be able to say the truth, and whether they pay, they don't pay, but something has to happen.
Yeah. And also shedding a light on it too, like
Exactly.
that something like this is not tolerable anymore.
Exactly. You know,
Interesting.
and if somebody doesn't say anything, then they're going to go on thinking that, haha, we got away with it. And then it's also to say that that particular product was only sold in Quebec. Okay, so knowing that Couche Tard is max in the rest of Canada, and they're...
And they did that solely here. Yeah, that's a weird also scenario where it's
Yeah.
just in one province and not the rest of it. They didn't,
Not
launch
in the
this all in
States.
Canada. Yeah.
Nowhere else, you know. So after 6 months of just going back and forth, and yes, it's just me, but going through each an article and rebuttal, and okay, I can argue for days.
Naturally. I don't need
you
a
know,
degree for that one.
but
I'm gifted.
it's just, it's just logic at a certain point. And
Yeah.
and then it's the fire that lit inside of me that, again, I'm not doing this just for myself.
Yeah.
So we went back and forth, and then finally they agreed, because at some point they didn't have any choices.
Yeah.
So they removed all the products from their store, and they
Wow.
destroyed it. They made a donation to Youth in Motion, and they apologized publicly. And the
Wow.
cherry on the sundae was my daughter holding the check. So
That's amazing.
yeah.
So, did that experience also give you a whole like inner strength and that change is possible?
Yes.
Was there finally a belief that change was possible?
I always knew that change is possible. It's just a question of how far are you willing to go? Are you going to accept that people are telling you no? When you know deep inside there's something wrong with it,
Yeah.
And even though sometimes, like, people from my own community were like, there's nothing there, or,
making a
she's
big
making
deal
a
out of it.
fuss out of anything. But it's okay if you're not seeing it, but for everybody else who's affected by it, it's enough.
Yeah.
And somebody had to say something, and I was crazy enough to just go ahead and say.
That's a fascinating story because one, I didn't know about it at all. Out of all the years that we've spoken, I didn't know that you were Aaron Brockovich. But the black Aaron Brockovich. Oh yeah, that I can confirm.
Yeah.
But I didn't know to that extent. Like, I knew that when it came time to get the work done, you got that. Like, every time we worked on the festival, like, you fucking showed up every day and you did it. Every time you're working on a project. But now this became something of a personal thing and something that's also of a generational thing, and something that has a huge impact. Like, I'm sure also from your daughter's perspective, it must have been like, wow, my mom just like fought this giant and won. And what, like, that to me is like, it's the best story, the David Goliath scenario, you know? And how did you feel at the end of all that, like, knowing that, like, when all the lights were gone, there's no more articles about this, and no one's talking about it? Because I know that there's a rush whenever, like, things are going on and there's like articles and people are talking. It's like it gives you that power to say, oh, let's keep going. But once the lights went all off and the articles were over and they found a new story to talk about, how did you feel about, like, did you have time to reflect on everything you just went through in that whole process, or is that kind of something that you never took the time to do?
I think I took the time much later.
Yeah.
After that, because life continues.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm, middle of the night, it's 3 a.m. and I'm rebuttaling, articles and this, legal papers and whatnot. But life is going on at the same time, and yes, having a hard time looking for finding jobs, during that time, and having a daughter, and I was married at the time, and it was just like so many things going on that
You didn't have time.
I didn't have time. But the driving force has always been like music in my life. Like, what's the soundtrack? Like, what are the songs telling me right now, and how do I just keep putting a foot in front of the other and just keep going?
Every time you mention the song, it's like something happened right after. So what song are you listening to now? Because we basically know what the fuck's happening in the next 6 months.
I went back to. It's funny enough because as I was driving down, I put back Deep Inside, We Need Love. Because it's what kind of a mood am I coming into today? To have this conversation with you, and it's really about that. It's about life. It's about love, and deep inside, I think that's what we all need.
Yeah.
And we have to go back to that essence, and not just go back to it, but don't forget it, because we can get so lost into something's happening to me.
Yeah.
But everything is happening to everybody at the same time.
I couldn't agree more. We always think, whatever's happening to us, it's like nothing else in the world is happening to anyone else. Like, even if our relationship ends, it's like, oh, our relationship was the best relationship, so how could this end? It's like we think like we're so important, and that we don't deserve these things, and not deserve, I guess, is the wrong word, but it's just that idea that we can't understand it because, we're the most important thing in the world, but the next person, right, the person right next to you is thinking the exact same thing. So if somebody would just like sit back and listen maybe a few times instead of thinking about themselves or talking about themselves, or you would realize like most likely someone else is going through something very similar, and maybe we could help each other out with this problem. And maybe how did you get over this, or how did you get over that?
Exactly.
And it doesn't happen. I know like at work in where I was, like there's a certain amount of stress and pressure that comes on or whatever. And every time someone's new, I tell them, I'm like, how you feeling? And when they say they're feeling great, I'm like, I don't believe you. It's impossible. No one's feeling great. There's a lot of stuff coming at you. It's okay like to say that it's a lot. It's normal that it's a lot. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of, and all of a sudden when they realize like, oh, okay, that's exactly how I'm feeling. Like you understand what I'm going through. It's like, yeah, because it's a human thing. Like it's a lot of shit coming at you. It's, if you would be totally okay, then you'd be basically a machine. Yeah. So there's all your whole other side of your life is involved, from family, if there's a sickness, if there's money problems, if there's living, whatever the story is, right? Yeah. So if that doesn't cross over into what you're doing at work and affect you, then there's something missing here. You're not human. Yeah. But is that why you brought in also something like the wellness part to your business? Because you're the only agency I know in the world that is a fucking DJ yoga. Like a yoga DJ. Like, sorry. I'm like, when I saw this, I remember watching, I said, that's really cool. Yeah. And only Laurraine would be having some.
Shout out to Selena, DJ Serious Black.
Yeah. Like I saw it. It's amazing. It's like there's this whole wellness part, but ripping it with a DJ. So how did that start, this relationship with her? Well, or maybe explain what it is, and then we'll get to how it started.
Well, no, we'll do the contrary because there's a link to where we just left off with the Couche Tard thing. So after that, I was lucky enough to have won an award for the fight against racism from the government. Okay. And then that led into me working with the Roundtable for Black History Month. Okay. Which is where I met Selena. So now we're talking 2006-ish or something.
Oh, you've known her for that long? Yeah. So has she been part of this since 2006?
Off and on, like we've been, like we call each other like spiritual gangsters,
That's such a you answer. Spiritual gangsters. Love it.
That's what we are.
This is why I love you. This is why we always had such a good time hanging out. I never wanted to leave that office. Every time we'd hang out, I'd be like, yo, I fucking love Laurraine. More often.
And so that's how we met, and she has that spirit also, like fuck the system, but in there she's a yogi, and that love of music, and she was also able to merge both of that, and travel the world, DJ, doing yoga classes and whatnot, and then just life takes a turn, and then we find each other again. And then it's like, okay, dude, I need a manager. I'm here.
Gotcha.
And so that's how the whole thing came about. And we had a few projects lined up 2020. It was supposed to be like a very extraordinary year. And then we all know
something happened. Something happened, I think, March-ish.
Like a little bleep.
Clip missing.
And then everything just disappeared.
That's definitely something we got to get into. Yeah. But I mean, sorry, continue.
And so as we're, facing all of that, and it's like, okay, well, what do? We have to pivot. How do we pivot? So we started doing things online. Mm-hmm. So we started doing like the yoga classes online. We did a few things with Decathlon for a minute online, and then we did a special for Black History Month. 7 days, and then the orishas and whatnot with music. And so that whole thing just came about just very naturally. And then with some, I'll call them my cosmic sisters that are along the way. And,
I love the names, Cosmic Sisters, Spiritual Gangsters.
Whether they're doing Qigong or meditation and whatnot. And that's how the whole thing came about, and fitness. And we decided, okay, well, let's, exist online where everything is alive now.
It's amazing. It looks so fun. Like it looks like there's this element of like partying, but also taking care of yourself. Yeah. It's like almost the opposite from each other. In general, when people start thinking about partying hard, you're not taking care of yourself in general. And this is the opposite. It's like you can party hard because you took care of yourself.
Exactly. And I think that the whole wellness, it's also like giving it a different definition.
Yeah.
Right. And then, there's aspects within the community that we have to think about. There's so many different aspects. And like I said, life is going to continue happening. Yeah. So how do we now adjust? How do we make things better for ourselves? How do we speak to one another where we understand what's going on?
You said the definition of wellness has changed or is changing. What is the definition of wellness now for you guys?
Creating a balance and really resting. Like we're in this society of like everything has to be go, 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 and you have to be hyper professional all the time. Yes, but we got to sleep.
Yeah, I heard it's pretty beneficial. Whenever I don't, I'm a piece of shit. I'm not a good person when I don't sleep well.
And we've both worked in places where you've had some of the higher ups. You don't know how they woke up the morning. They come to work. They shit on everybody. I'm sorry, I said shit.
You can say whatever you want. I've been swearing, I think, for the last hour.
They come to work. They shit on everybody, and then it has like this trickle down effect.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, it was like, no, I'm not dealing with that anymore.
I know.
And part of that wellness now is put a stop to it. If you know that somebody's shitty, you're going to let them continue and shit on everybody in the whole department, and everybody's going to be okay with that. And being who I am, some of the places...
Hey, you took fucking Couche Tard down. This one asshole is going to go down for sure.
So I'm like, no. Even if you're going to try to make my life harder because I'm speaking up, I'd rather speak up and then I can actually sleep at night.
Yeah.
Than to let you continue being like a demon and everybody has to be quiet about it. Like, I can't do it.
I hear. I feel that's something I can't do anymore.
No.
I can't let things slide where I have to go to bed with this. We say it in Italian, it's called a pensieri. Like, it's those thoughts that are just always in your mind. And I would go to bed with these things like, I should have said this. And maybe, it's not, I'm not happy now because of what someone did, but yet I did nothing about it. And I'm the asshole that feels like a piece of shit now.
Yeah.
Like, so it's kind of like, I never want to feel like this anymore. And it's okay to say whatever it is that you want. You don't have to say it in an aggressive way. No. You just got to say it, put a stop to it, because I'm not bringing this shit home anymore. I'm not bringing this stuff to bed. And I noticed ever since that kind of happened, even almost like a few years ago, like officially, that it's over. I'm never bringing that luggage and that baggage with me to bed anymore.
Yeah.
The moment that happened, I can honestly say I go to bed almost on a daily basis where I'm physically exhausted from the work, but I'm not mentally that exhausted. Like, it happens to once a blue moon, and whenever it happens, it's usually because I didn't open my mouth saying what I wanted to say. And then I realized, okay, I gotta get back in that room tomorrow. I gotta say what the problem was, that we're not gonna work like this anymore. We can't work like this because it's not beneficial for you, not beneficial for me, and it just doesn't make sense to work like this anymore. But it's funny how, like, you brought that part of it to an entertainment level. Like your agency is constantly about entertainment. It's always about pushing, never sleeping, and yet you brought this wellness side to it, of like respecting each other, resting, taking the time. It's almost like counterintuitive in the type of business that you're in.
Yeah.
And how is that playing out? Do people feel like it's something that they're really latching onto and they're really liking about that part of the business?
I think that, I'll answer you this way. I have one of my hashtags. It's attract your tribe. Mm-hmm. And I think that if it resonates with you, then you're down with it. If you're not there yet, you might be curious and you want to know more about it. But we have to start somewhere.
I feel like you're doing a sex tape right now.
I used to make funny tapes back in the days.
The cameras are on.
But we have to start.
Yeah.
If we don't start, then it's not going to happen. Like, speaking of like the corporate world, and I used to feel like that. And one thing for my being is to live without regret.
Yeah.
And going to that office, I started developing like Dexter thoughts.
I love the descriptions. I know exactly now what you mean just by one line, by Dexter thoughts.
Dexter thoughts. And that's all I needed to say to some people, and they're all like, oh, shit.
Oh, shit, it got to that level.
Where we're walking. You're telling me, "Oh, Laurraine, we have to go do this walk, and we have to supervise this," and we're walking, and I'm just thinking about,
Where am I going to bury this body?
yeah, you know, I was just so many scenarios in my head. I'm just like, you have to stop watching these shows because they're giving you too many ideas. And I remember just that one time where they were doing the parking lot, and it was time for the asphalt. And I asked the guy, I was like, "Let me know when the pouring is gonna be done so I can."
You might just tip
You know,
someone over.
one of the guys were like, "Oh, we didn't know you were Italian." I was like,
It's
"I'm
Leblanco.
international."
I didn't tell you it's Leblanco.
Okay, but you know, when you start having these kinds of
Yeah,
thoughts,
it's time to move.
yeah,
It's time to change. I always said that you know the answer. You just don't want to listen to the answer.
yeah,
And that's the thing that I've really worked on a lot in my life now, is saying the answer's there. Just don't take so long to listen to it. Just really cut that down, because there's always that like friction point and that pushback. No, you know, it's not so bad. Relax, chill out, or whatever. And then you're like, that used to take maybe a year or whatever it is, and then it went to 6 months, and like a month. It's like, okay, now let's bring it down to like, it doesn't have to last more than a week. If it's a week that you are feeling like absolute garbage about something, and you're not happy with those decisions, you have to change something, because there's clearly something internally that is off with it. So the wellness part is, I see that it's a big part of it. Like, you post a lot about that.
yeah.
The boxing stuff. How did you get into boxing? Did you always like boxing? Or is it something that
I love sports.
you love seeing
you
people
know.
get the shit kicked out of them?
Yeah, you know, if I can't do it myself, then
I take it out.
I can live. I can't do MMA though.
No?
No, I mean, I used to watch it until I saw, was it the Silva, and his
Okay.
leg just went the other way.
Yeah. I get queasy with that shit. I go to Cirque du Soleil, I want to fucking throw up sometimes. Like, when you see like the what's it called? You know, when they're super flexible and they can like, what's the word? I'm blanking out on the word now.
I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking?
Yeah.
And their back is like in the wrong spot, and their arm is behind their head.
Yeah.
I literally want to barf
Yeah.
when I see that shit. So when seeing someone's leg like crack off or bones broken, I am a big fucking like.
No.
I can't do it.
I get more sensitive as I get older. And then, like, even like stupid videos, somebody falling off a bike.
I can't watch that shit. I just skip.
I have electric shocks going through my
Yeah.
body. I'm like, no, I can't do that. But a good boxing match,
A good punch to the face. I'm good.
You know, I used to love hockey. Not that I don't like it anymore, but since they took away our PK Subban, I kind of parted ways.
You made a disconnect.
Yeah. You know, I used to love watching that, back in the day.
It was so fun. Like, that was a fun period of the
Yeah.
Habs. I have to admit, that was the Price Subban era was a really fun
It
period.
was really nice, And then just the other day, I was downtown with my brother and just realizing, I'm giving away my age, but it's been 30 years since the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. It's been a while. It's been a minute.
And I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
But we went downtown the night that they won the cup.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, my God. Talk about memories and, like, fuzzy feelings in my heart. Yeah. I'll never forget that moment. I'm like, Canadien de Montréal, vous faites quoi, là? Yeah.
You party with the Habs.
Well, it'd be nice for the city. unless they plan to burn everything down again.
Yeah.
It's not so fun. But, I love competition sports and watching tennis and all of that. So through connections and, like,
how did that start?
The business family, that I'll call it like that, where a couple of the business partners were like brothers and sisters now. And, through one connection, there's this happening. We'd love for you to come in. Okay, great. Let's go for it. And
that's how it just, and then, because now it's like a few events you've been part of.
Yeah.
What was the first one was a few years back, no?
First one, listen, everything, like I said, is yesterday.
Yeah.
Our memory is not good anymore. Let's talk about the future. The next one is...
So when's the next one?
Next one is Friday the 13th of October. It's Fight Night 4. We have our Canadian heavyweight champion who's fighting against this American, Scott Alexander. And we also have another a belt going up for the middleweight with Kevin Menage. And interestingly enough, with the new era, all of their fighters, so there's about 7 fighters dans l'écurie, if I can call them like that.
Okay.
They're all undefeated.
Oh, yeah.
which is
Well, Quebec, the Quebec boxing
yeah,
scene has always been pretty vibrant.
yeah,
But like for like at one point, MMA was just like the talk of the town for
yeah.
everything, right? MMA, no boxing. It's like boxing had died, and I was watching this Untold series on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen it, the Jake Paul one.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, I started watching it, and it's like at one point, like boxing had just kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
It was like just every year was just going down the rate, and I think HBO had dropped boxing at one point. So it was all this stuff that it was kind of like no one talks about. Is boxing over?
Yeah.
And I felt like in Quebec it would never MMA grew, but I felt that boxing was always high up there. Now that you're in that world of boxing and seeing all this stuff, what are some of the things that you notice about this, and what makes it so attractive for you? Because you went from a music background and festivals where everyone's having a party,
Yeah.
and now you're going in a ring where two guys are kicking the fucking shit out of each other.
It's the excitement.
Yeah,
I think, I mean, the nice body is not hard.
I should say it.
It's the excitement, it's the challenge, and it's the same thing about you're putting an event together and you're trying to get people around the ring, adversaries, and this whole training, right? That you train and you can talk a whole lot of shit for a few months. And then
Now you have to
if
put
you
up.
meet somebody like Mike Tyson, then in 0.3 seconds, that's it. You're out, you're dead.
Yeah,
It's over. And for me, like that whole thing is like very intricate. It's very interesting. It's the preparation. It's the build up. Then you climax, and then it's like, okay, it's over. It's done.
ding ding
Next.
ding. Yeah, next.
One of the interesting, the last one, I think it was in Châteauguay. Before that, it was in Saint-Hyacinthe. And I was at the entrance, welcoming people in the media list and whatnot. And I can hear what's going on inside. It was like towards the beginning of the fights. And, you hear the announcement. Qui s'en vient sur le ring. Da, da. Then you hear ding, ding. And I think I turned around to say something to a colleague. And 13 seconds later, I just heard, oh! And then that was it.
Ding ding ding. You heard the bell.
So it's also that part of it that
You don't know what's gonna happen.
You don't know.
Well, I remember like as a kid that watching the Tyson fights, it was like you stayed up as late as possible and you made sure you didn't go take a piss
No.
when that fight was starting because it's over. Like you go to the bathroom, like it's better you just wait.
Yeah.
Hold it out. It's okay. Even actually put a bit in your pants if you have to, but do not
Exactly.
miss that first minute because you don't know what's gonna happen.
And don't blink.
And don't blink. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so it's really cool. Like seeing this whole transition from 2004, that first event, to now multiple events, Crescent festivals, F1 festivals, all this stuff. Where do you see the Living Legends like brand going now? Now that it's kind of gone into so many different paths, do you have a vision? Do you know where you want it to go?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about it, or you want to keep that to yourself?
I can talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
And I think where it goes with the name of it, and in building the branding, which at the beginning was supposed to be just my name, like Agence Laurraine Leblanc, whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, it's not really that sexy.
Yeah.
It's not about me. And then just keeping the initials, so it's LL with Living Legends. But also the thought process behind it is lucky enough that I've met a lot of living legends, whether from athletes and artists and whatnot. And it's realizing that we all have that living legend inside of us.
Mm-hmm.
But it all depends on how much do you work on it.
Yeah.
We all have that power. And for me, it's whether giving a voice to some of people that don't have it or to create events where you yourself can feel like living legends in there. And like I said, it's the currency of feeling that joy and having that smile. That for me is what it's all about. And the future of it would be to create more events exploring that.
Yeah. That's really cool.
How do you take it from point A to point B? Like I can say for myself, like the description that you said before about David against Goliath, when I fought Couche Tard, that a lot of people said to me, at the time I didn't realize that it was really that big, because for me it was just like
Yeah,
It's
you're
just
doing what you need to do.
just little old me, and But when you take a moment and you're like, okay, let's have some perspective on this. Um, where did I get that crazy idea that I could actually, accomplish something
Yeah.
like that? But it's when you're doing something that's selfless,
Yeah.
you know. What's your purpose? Like, why do you do some of the things that you do? And when you look at athletes, and shout out to Prini Surai, like a person like him that there's sort of stories that he shared with me about precisely like being alone in Italy training.
Yeah.
And people telling him, well, you're never going to make it. You're never going to make it. Oh, you're crazy. What are you thinking about? And what if you listen to that voice?
I know. Imagine. It's so crazy. If you would listen to some of those voices, it could have stopped someone from doing something so great.
Yeah. And at the same time, like, not because you don't believe in yourself, who are you to shit on somebody else?
Yeah.
And I think that people need to take a little bit more responsibility in that sense, that if you feel like you're limited in that sense, keep it to yourself, but don't crush somebody else's dreams because you don't believe in yourself at the end of the day, which is part of, projection and all of that. And for me, I want to explore more of that because I think that we all have a story to share. We all come from one place, and there's, an ending part, and hopefully, by the time I'm done with my career, and I told people during my eulogy, don't forget to say that my mom didn't let me go see Michael Jackson, which is like that one thing in my life.
Yeah, everyone has that one thing.
Let it be known. But you see, like somebody like Michael Jackson, for me, is an inspiration.
Yeah.
Because just growing up watching him and the music, the moves, and how everything is just clockwork.
Yeah.
And the sheer perfection. But the drive that he had to put that into himself.
It never just comes on its own.
No.
That's drive. That's hard work. Like what we see as a finished product from artists like him or even business people, like all these people, they are constantly working at it because it's something that they believe in. There's a purpose.
Yeah.
Usually there has to be a big driving purpose, like a drive or a purpose to go that far. And then once it gets there, it almost, like you said, it ultimately becomes selfless.
Yeah.
And then you're like, how do I help others? Now to realize that there's all this like possibility inside of you.
Exactly.
That if you just work hard at it and you continuously focus on what drives you, because what drives people is not necessarily going to be the same for everybody.
No.
Sometimes it's money for people. Sometimes it's money. It's a tough one because it's a never ending. Like whatever. Like I'm not on that level, but for someone that does, it's like you need that element to keep you up, to move forward when everyone is telling you that it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Because everyone is going to tell you it's not going to work. Like that's a guarantee.
Yeah, that's guaranteed.
Exactly. So I think like, to close it up and everything, like I think that was a fucking great way to close it up. You're a spiritual gangster, like you said earlier. And what I love about this is that we've known each other for a long time, and I feel like I got to know so many more stories. Or maybe I wasn't completely wasted by the end of the meeting and I'm going to remember them.
We've been sipping slowly.
We've been sipping. We've been nice. We've grown. We've grown a little bit.
Exactly. We've matured.
Before we'd start with shooters. Every meeting was the shooters.
It's true.
So, Laurraine, I just wanted to say thank you so much. We finally got this done.
Finally.
It was awesome seeing you again.
Well,
thank you so much for bringing this.
Listen, I can't come empty-handed.
Never.
That would be illegal.
Exactly. And it was just amazing to learn more about your story. And I hope for people that are interested in working with major events, or if they want to know more, information, they could always contact you. I always have the links on anyways to every show. Yeah. And I hope this helps, share your story, because I think it's a wonderful one.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for having me. And I think, cheers to so many more years of doing things together. Yeah. And if I can just leave it off, to just say, just believe in yourself, whomever it is. Like, one of my lawyers told me once that life is shit. It's the little pockets of joy that you have in between.
That's such a lawyer. That's such a lawyer. Life is shit. That's the way to start.
Straight up.
You can't ask like a lawyer context. Like, that's fucking perfect.
That's what it is.
That's where we're gonna end it off.
Shout
Life is shit. Life is shit, except for those little pockets.
Exactly.
Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much.
That's it.
We did.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for checking out the show. It's been awesome working on this project. And if you like it, tell a friend. And if you want to support the show, you can by 1, subscribing and liking our YouTube channel at the DMW Podcast. 2, you can go to our website and sign up to our mailing list at the dmwpodcast.com. And 3, you can follow us on Instagram at the DMW Podcast. Thanks again for all of your support. My name is Stef, and this is the Dead Man Walking Podcast.